Hi Flosstube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin. This is Stitch, Read, Repeat. You found a YouTube channel all about cross stitch and I'm so happy that you're here. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you're coming back, I appreciate you and hope that you are doing well. Lots to talk about today. I know that it's still not April, it's now into May. My April was crazy. But lots of good stuff happened. Had a lot of fun time with some friends and family and quite a bit of stitching, all things considered, to show you today. So just gonna jump right in. As always, I hold space here for those of us that are in a lot of flux. I think our world, this is just kind of how we are, and I don't want to, keep beating a dead horse. So I'll just say you all are welcome here. I hold space for all of you here, and I'm grateful that you have found this to have a moment of just enjoyment, and hopefully you're stitching something fun and, finding some rest in the time that you're with me today. So first things first, I wanted to talk about this giveaway, which is lingering forever. I had stitched this as a model for my friend Jen. She owns the shop Floss and Flame in Dover, Delaware. I hadn't heard from the person who had previously won, and so I've redrawn a name, and so actually it's another Nebraska person. So Erin Stitches, she is the winner. So Erin, I'll get in touch with you and get this out to you soon. Congratulations. I hope that you enjoyed this stitch when you decide to work on it. I know it's not yet winter, we're into spring, but maybe you'll get a head start for next season. Okay, let's see. Like I said, my April was super busy. I traveled to see some friends, and then I traveled for an extended weekend to visit some family in Nebraska. I had a family wedding to attend, and so my daughter and I were able to go to Nebraska for about 5 days. We did all the Nebraska things. The wedding was quintessential Nebraska, small town. I grew up in a rural town, and it was my stepbrother who got married. He also grew up in a rural town. So there were aspects of it that probably people that I know now and in Delaware and other places I've lived would be a little confused by. But moral of the story, they got married. That was the goal. We had a good time. The weather held out. I got my trip into Runza, which was my highlight every time I go home. And yeah, had a great trip. So I was able to celebrate my dad's birthday while I was there. And he's a great grandfather. He made his day about his granddaughter, and my daughter had a great time. So fun to see them together. She gives him a run for his money, and I can appreciate that as his oldest daughter. So anyway, jumping right in to some fully finished objects that I have two for you today. One, I think I had showed you the stitching before, and this was something that I did as part of a swap posted by Heather on Instagram. And that swap, I always have to look because I get it wrong. It was a Fabulous Foodies swap. I sent this on actually overseas to a recipient in Sweden, and I don't have the finished piece here anymore, but I've got a picture I'll pop up on the screen for you. This was called Sushi Cuties. It was by a designer named Trellis and Time I found on Etsy. I stitched it with the called for DMC on a 28 count linen in the color Storm by Picture This Plus, and it was very quick to stitch. They're super cute little kind of kawaii figures. The recipient said that sushi was their favorite food, so that was kind of fun to do. And I ordered a frame off of a shop on Etsy called Signed and Numbered. I would highly recommend that shop. They had the perfect size, and I was able to choose my finish. It came very quickly, packaged very well, and it worked to pop that stitching right in there. So highly recommend that, and there's one finish. The other finish is something that I had not yet even started the last time I saw you. It was something I started as part of the Nash Stash Startathon that Lindy Stitches had hosted right after Nashville. The idea being that you start something you bought at Nashville. So I will tell you that this frame job still needs some work. I haven't been able to go back and update it, but I wanted to get it in a frame so I could kind of see what it looked like. So this is the AD Sampler 1894 by Red Barn Samplers, and here she is. So I jumped the gun. I was so excited about this. I wanted to post it on my Instagram. So you might have already seen it. Very small little sampler. I stitched this on a 40 count needle and flax linen in the color Delaware Crossing using all the called for flosses. It was DMC and some overdyed cottons. And I obviously modified it. I put my initials here and I put 2025 at the bottom. This is definitely Caitlin's conversion. There's lots of mistakes in this. You probably wouldn't know if I didn't tell you. But yeah, I just couldn't count to save my life. I think the linen was different. Something about it was different, but I still think it looks really nice. I put it into one of the Mill Hill frames. This is a 6-inch square frame. And I like green is my favorite color. I thought the green looked nice with it, and just a cute little sampler. I was really pleased with this one and happy to have it fully finished for now. Like I said, it's when it has these lines in there, you can tell when it's wavy, so I want to edit that a little bit, but for just popping it in to see how it looks, I was pleased with it. So again, this is 80 Sampler 1894 by Red Barn Samplers. Okay, trying to keep up with all my stuff on the bed and like figuring out, I've got my guest bed right here next to me and like making sure I have everything where it needs to be. Okay, so I have quite a few things that I worked on this month. One was a new start, and now it's a whip, and let me pull this out for you. I'll tell you later more about a trip that I took this month, but I started this because I had bought this chart when I was with these friends a couple years back, and I had never stitched it, and I thought, well, let me work on it and see how I do. So this is a JBW stitching in the round chart, and I've actually seen this chart in quite a few Flosstubes lately, so I don't know if someone stitched it and it became popular, but like I said, I've had it in my stash for quite a while. And so I stitched this. I had bought some almond M&M silk that I use, and so I bought it in this is scarlet and this is rose, so I was going to do it in these shades of pink, and I stitched this on a 36 count linen by Picture This Plus in the colorway Helix, just a little scrap that I bought. So here we are. This is only using the darker of the pinks. I did all of the one color. The chart is 2 colors. I did all one color, so this is the full round. And so if you look at this chart, you can see like there's the light kind of extras that are added in there. And I am still deciding, do I need the extra color or do I just leave it as is and call it done? I think I like how Judy fills the space with all those extra little motifs, but I also think that it looks complete like this. So if you have an opinion, let me know. I stitched this in a day. It went together very quickly, one strand of that silk on this 36 count, and I was just a stitching machine. I loved it, all the little motifs, watching them come together. I love these big fat scissors at the bottom because those are in the style of my favorite scissors I use. Just really fun. It was like, what am I working on? And then all of a sudden, oh, it's a pair of glasses, or oh, it's a button, or, you know, it was neat. So this was fun. Still haven't decided if I'm going to call this a finish or if I'll add in those other colors. I think if I add in, or the other color, I should say, if I add in the other pink, I'll probably take it to StitchCon and finish it there, kind of have it be full circle. So again, this is Stitching in the Round by JBW Designs, and I started this month. That was one of those charts that was like, once I did it and I did it in a day, I said to myself, why did you hold on to this for so long? Like, you've had this for years, literal years. Your guess is as good as mine. Let's see, another one that I worked on. This is one that I talked about the last time I saw you. It was going to be another start for the Nash Stash Startathon. Let me get it all. Well, I wonder where my needle is. That's a really good question. Okay, well, anyway, this is Disagree by Rebel Stitcher, and again, I love this chart. I think that it's especially timely. I am doing mine on the same fabric she used. She used Crypt Cloth by Lap and Loops. I'm using a 36 count, and green is my favorite color. How many times can I say that? So I chose a green. I chose the floss is called by Weeks Dye Works. I can tell you that much. It is called Seaweed. Seaweed. So let me get this on my board. I've actually got quite a bit of progress on this. I put it away because I was working on some other stuff. I need to pull it back out because I'm really enjoying it. I've, you know, Ellen Reed has started a stitch along with this. And there's some other, if you want to say, big names in the cross stitch world that are working on it. So I've been working my way across the top, and there's going to be the word other on next to each, and then one more motifs down the other side. So it's you know, it's 240 stitches wide, so it is quite large, but I'm just loving how this green is working up. I think it's very, very pretty, and yeah, it's timely and I really enjoy it. Quickers are fun. You know, you have to count and make sure that you're symmetrical, but they look really nice, and they're kind of like little finishes that you can celebrate as you get each one done. So that is Disagree by Rebel Stitcher. And I really don't know where my needle went. That's gonna be a problem. Unless I stole it. Sometimes I steal it. I have so many needles. I don't know why I steal them from bags, but apparently I must have stolen that one. This isn't a Black Cat accessory bag. I love it because it's Barbie. I love Barbie. So anyway, I love her bags. And when I saw that one, I was like, yes, I have to buy this. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you because I decided, you know, the odds of someone getting this in the smalls exchange were slim, so I'm just going to show you because I've put a lot of work into it. So I'm going to StitchCon this year in June. I'll be at Weekend B, and I always love to participate in the exchange. I think that that's a really fun way to meet someone new and you know, stitch something. Sometimes I want to stitch something, I'm like, that looks really fun to stitch, but it's not something I'd display or something I'd use. And so I found a chart. This is just Cross Stitch Magazine from April 2022. And I found a chart in here for these Easter eggs. And so this Easter season, I found some Eastery things to put with my finish. I plan to finish it just how it's shown. And so this has been an interesting ride. I'm doing the purple egg, and the way that it's shown stitched in this chart is that it's a overdyed cotton is the purple, and then they're using just DMC Blanc, just white, for the white. And I said, perfect. So I had Blanc, and I bought the purple, and I started stitching the purple, and I said, this is not at all like the picture. So let me show you what I mean. And you're gonna have to bear with me here because I've got it in a Q-snap, and I'm just gonna leave it in the Q-snap. You can see the whole egg though. So here's the egg. The purple that you're seeing is actually I had to buy a darker purple because the thing that's ghosting on there almost that looks white is the purple that they called for. So it was interesting that the color has changed so much. So I just swapped it. And so we've got kind of a real light, variegated purple that's more the white color. And then I chose a darker purple for the contrasting color. And I'm really happy with it. I did all of that white color first. And so then I've just been filling in the dark color. I've been on an airplane lately. This was good airplane stitching because it's just like fill in the boxes, fill in all the empty space, right? And then you're done. So I'm really happy with this. I think it's really pretty, and hopefully whoever receives it will think the same. I try to do kind of a themed swap gift because I like to throw in a few extra goodies. Not required, of course, at StitchCon, but yeah, this is the egg, the Easter egg from that magazine. It says that it was designed by Karen Bowen of KEB Studio Creations. And like I said, this is the Just Cross Stitch April 2022 edition. So that's been just something I've been, you know, slowly working on so I can make sure that it's done in plenty of time so I can fully finish it and I'm not scrambling right before StitchCon because that is historically been how things have gone for me. But I work best under pressure. I am a procrastinator to the nth degree. Okay, another start. I've had lots of starts. I've just been, you'd think with my Whipgo I'd be tired of starting all these things, but I'm just starting. So I talk about her all the time, my friend Jen, who owns the shop Floss and Flame down in Dover, Delaware. She, you know, just opened her shop last year, and she has a number of models that she has stitched, but I personally think that the model always sells at the store. And so I've offered to stitch some models for her. I've stitched a few now, and I've always wanted to stitch one of these and decided now was the time. So I asked her if I could. So I am stitching Daffodils by Works by ABC. It's one of her repeating motif patterns. So it's essentially full coverage. I mean, there's a little bit of fabric that shows through, but you do this repeating pattern and the image comes through. It's really quite interesting to stitch, and I've really enjoyed it. So I am stitching this. She picked out a 40 count fabric, so it's itty bitty, really fun. I would have never chosen this fabric, and Jen has a really great eye for color, and so I've enjoyed working on this for her. Move my needle minder here. So I would say I'm probably just about halfway through, and here it is. So this is as wide as it gets, and this daffodil that I'm working on down here is the bottom of 3 daffodils, and then there's like the vines or the stems and then some grass at the bottom. So most of the blue is stitched, and from afar you can see the repeating motif, and then as you get closer, I mean, it's fascinating how Arlene's brain works to come up with something like this, and I have so enjoyed working on this project. It takes a lot of concentration. You can't make a mistake because the pattern won't look right, but I'm really happy to be able to work on this and to have her, you know, she'll have this in the shop, and hopefully it will influence people to buy it or something like it. I know Arlene has done like a cherry blossom piece, and she's got a couple that are part of this repeating motif, and like I said, I've always seen them and wanted to stitch one. I'm doing it with the called for Gentle Arts colors, so it's just 5 colors in this chart. Something that I can't show you is that I've been model stitching for a designer, and so I'll keep that, you know, close to the chest for that person, but that's been also fun. I, you know, haven't been able to stitch as much as I would like because I've been traveling, but I'm almost done with that piece, and I'll get that shipped off to them here very soon. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was Whipgo. 2 calls each month, typically, and last month this was one of the ones that was called. This is called Primitive Pumpkin. It's by You and I and Friends. A long skinny piece. It's done on a 32 count linen. Everything is DMC except for the fill-in on this pumpkin. And so let me show you where I'm at. This has just come together so fast, and I think I'm going to put it away for now, but the next time I bring it out, it will definitely be a finish. So here it is. I got the alphabet in there, this wonky little stars, but I mean, it's tiny. It's really tiny. Like, I mean, my hand, I don't know, a hand isn't a good gesture or good measuring. Like, here's a regular sized ink pen, you know, and it's just real narrow. It's like I said, 32 count. This is on, I think it's raw linen, and this is all DMC so far. So really fun to work on, 2/2. And next time I'll come in, I'll do the big pumpkin, finish up the alphabet at the bottom, bring the box around, and it'll be done. So long and skinny piece. And I've had this one kitted up for a long time, and it was happy to get it out and work on it. I've been to shops that, you know, I don't think You and I and Friends are still designing, but I've been to stores that have, you know, some back stash of their charts. And Like I got this one at a shop in Iowa. It was half price, so it was $4 because it was on like in their clearance rack. So I don't know. Sometimes a chart can be dated, but it's primitive, or it doesn't look super dated, so it's something that I'd be interested in. And then, yeah, April was busy, and so I unfortunately didn't make it to my other Whipgo call. So my plan in May is to really work on my last Whipgo call of April, and then move on to this month's Whipgos. So we'll move right into those plans. So I showed you this the last time, but I'm going to show you it one more time. My other Whipgo call for April was Botanical Bee by Hands On Design. And I'm really excited to stitch this. I just haven't gotten there yet. So I've got it kitted up with a fabric from Barefoot Needle Art. This is a 32 count, and it is, or sorry, it's a 36 count actually, and the color Sea Mist. So it's got some really pretty variegation on it. Kathy Huberman used the Fabrics by Stephanie, but I picked this up and thought that it'd be the perfect color. So I'm going to do that with all the called for, I think it's, let's see. Yeah, they're all Weeks Dye Works flosses. So I've got those called for in my kit, and I'll get that started here very soon. And then I didn't write down what numbers Jessie called. I just know which projects align with the numbers that were called, so that's what you get. So the first one is a chart that I saw at Keepsakes. It was on display, and again, the model sold me. This is called Hark 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 by Summerhouse Stitchworks. It's small. It's, well, no, here I am lying to you. The chart is small. Well, so it's one of these books that opens up, and I was like, oh, it's tiny. No, it's 201 by 201. So, but there's a lot of empty space. So that's the full chart there at the top. And it says, hark, what news the angels bring, glad tidings of a newborn king. And it's especially fitting that this was called this month along with the next one, because they kind of go hand in hand. So I am stitching this one. Let's see. She stitched hers on Grecian with the floss Grecian Gold by Gentle Arts. She used a Lakeside Linen, and I found this instead at Keepsakes. Let me think about what I'm saying. So I'm going to use the same linen, or the same floss color, and this is a 46 count Marbled Bunny by XJU Designs. And so it's got a little bit of modeling to it with this gold. I think it'll be really pretty. So that's my plan for this one. Get that one started. And I have a friend who has graciously lent me some, I'm going to get the name wrong, scroll bars, not stretcher bars, scroll bars. And I might put this on there and see how I like it. And maybe I'll work up the frame all the way around, and then I'll be able to do the inside as I go. So we'll see how that goes. And then the other one, I have this, I keep this in a pocket from Tiger Lily. This is when she was doing the rescued stitches. She rescued this little angel. Isn't that so cute? And she made this Christmas pocket. And so I haven't unpacked this as a kit, but it's got double zippers on the inside, and there's Christmas material in there. So very well made. Tiger Lily does a great job. I just got an email about her sampler, or her advent box that went on sale. I don't do so well with surprise things, but I was very tempted. So this is my other chart that was called for Whipgo for this month. And let me get the details here for you. This was a unicorn chart of mine. It's from 1989, and some of you will laugh, but this chart is older than I am, so can you say that's vintage? It comes with the linen and the DMC. This is the first Noel sampler by the Sampler. And so this is a real photograph on the chart. It's hand drawn. So I'm gonna have to make a working copy. I just think it's so sweet. The angels are telling the shepherds the good news, and it's got this really pretty border. I'm really excited. And so it's got a verse from the first Noel, and yeah, it's a 30 count linen that it comes with, and I'm just really excited to get it started and stitched. I got a couple specialty stitches in it, and again, just it's been a unicorn of mine. I found it as a whole kit someone was selling on a D-stash, and excited to get it going. So I will start that this month too. Okay. So those are Whipgo plans. I also plan to finish that Easter egg for StitchCon and work on the daffodils and get those finished up for Jen for her shop. And then I really need to put some thought into planning for StitchCon. What am I going to take? What am I going to work on? I like to bring something as a small, or something that's ready to be finished so I can ring the bell. I think my first year I went, somebody brought like 10 or 12 projects that had just a little tiny bit left so that they could ring the bell a bunch of times. And that's not my goal, but I do enjoy ringing the bell at some point during the weekend and celebrating a finish. So excited to do that. Okay. So stuff that happened in April. April was kind of, could you say it was like a month of friendship for me? Maybe, if that's not cheesy. You know, coming back from market, and then I was able to spend a lot of time with my friend Jen at her shop. She, it's dangerous really for me to go there because every time I go I see something new. And so I did purchase, this is going to kind of have haul tied into everything else. I've looked at this chart ever since market, this Folk Birds by Annie Bees. I think it's so pretty. And so I want to do it on this blue fabric. I think that's really pretty and different. And so I bought the floss and the chart from Jen. It's only 6 by 5 inches. So the blue is 77 by 52. And that's if it's 6 by 5 is stitched on a 32 count. So, yeah, not very big at all is what it says. Excited to get this one going, and I'll show you I bought some fabric that I think might work for this. So bought that chart with Jen, was able to spend some time at her shop. She has these open stitching weekends, and just fun to be with other stitchers and people that, you know, understand your craft, and fun to see what they're working on, maybe learn a new technique and get to know some new folks. And then I had said last time I was going to get together with Jessica. She is Librarian Lady. Librarian Lady, I think is what her YouTube channel is. She lives down near Baltimore, Maryland. And so we met just outside of Baltimore at the Stitching Post, which is in LNS down that way. And we did a little shopping, and then we went for lunch at a really cute little diner. And it was so great to meet her. She was so sweet. She started making project bags. So she gave me a project bag, which when I saw her post this on Instagram, I was really excited because I just love this fish print. It's like quirky and weird, and she let me have a pic she brought a couple, and I said, oh, I saw the fish, I want the fish. So thank you so much for that. I was really appreciative of that. And of course, going into the LNS, you know, not knowing what they might have, I was really surprised and pleased. They had quite a selection of fabric. And so I bought, this is by Picture This Plus, and this is called Cornflower. And so I think this blue will be perfect for that Folk Birds. It's a little lighter than what they did theirs on, but I thought that would be the perfect color. So I bought some of that. And then I also grabbed, I wanted to try one of these Cherry Hill Stitchery needle minders for a long time. They're really large. I hear the magnets are really good on these. I thought this was pretty, so I grabbed one of those. And then I saw this stitched up as a model, and they just stitched this large motif and they framed it. I can't say I'm feeling super patriotic, but I did really like this chart. So I bought the chart, and I'm going to stash this away, and when I'm feeling extra patriotic, I might pull this out. But I thought it was beautifully done by the Scarlet House. This is called Patriotic Scissor Pocket. So that was a really fun time down there. Jessica, thank you for inviting me. It was so nice to meet you. And yeah, just a great time. I look forward to the next. And then I had mentioned earlier with the Sushi Cuties chart, I was part of the Fabulous Foodies swap. And so I received my swap gift in the mail. And this came from Oliver. He is Stylist OKP on Instagram. And he sent not just something that was stitched, but also a bunch of extra little goodies, which I was so excited for. So he sent this really cool needle minder. It's glass. It's very heavy duty. The magnet is very strong. So I'm excited about this. Thought that was pretty. And then he sent, well, I mean, I love these little scissors. These are the ones that I fly with because if TSA takes them, I'm not going to be sad about it. They're, you know, $3 or $4, but they're the perfect size to throw in a bag. So another pair of those are always welcome. He sent me a skein of this really bright green called Absinthe Weeks Dye Works floss. And yes, it is about that neon. So I'll have to find something to use that for. And then this beautiful Karen Water Lilies silk in the color African Violet. And you can just, I mean, it's got variegation to it. It's so pretty. So I need to find something to use that on. Something monochromatic that would really let that shine. And then of course it was a stitching swap. So he also stitched up this chart that says, take time to savor the chocolate. And it's just this little tiny pillow. It's so cute. His stitching is perfect. And then he put this really tiny chenille trim on it and stuffed it nicely. And then he put this just little brown print on the back. So Oliver, I love this. Thank you so much. And excited to put this out. I think I'm going to put it in my chocolate right next to my candy dish because that's how I get people to come in my office is I always have candy and typically it's chocolate. So okay, and then the next thing, like I said, lots of travel in April. So then I went, had the opportunity to travel to Kentucky to visit with some dear friends that I had met at StitchCon 2 years ago. Well, 3 years ago now. We've been to 2 StitchCons together, so this will be our third. And so I was able to spend time with Morgan and Courtney and Rebecca, and Rebecca hosted us. It was wonderful. They picked me up at the airport. She dropped me back off, like door-to-door service. Highly recommend. And this trip was just a great reminder of friendship and a reminder, you know, I was just reminded like, you know, I've lived a lot of places and I've met a lot of people, and I think friendship, you get out of a friendship what you put into it. And these ladies have, you know, I poke them and they poke me, and we've really formed a connection, and I'm grateful for that. And so if you are able to find people like that who not just engage with you one time, but they continue to keep up the friendship, they check in on you, they, you know, touch base, they know what's going on, they send you something when they think of you. And I don't mean in the mail, I mean even just a text message. I just saw something funny today that I sent to one of them and said, I blame you for this targeted advertisement, right? So, there's something to be said for that. And I think that especially as we get older and our lives get more busy, we can't just sit and expect for people to be our friends. I think that, you know, it was a good reminder that friendship is a road that goes both ways. So grateful for you girls. Had a great time. We were gifted wonderful things. It always is that way when you get together with friends. I think everybody spoils everyone else, and it was no different this time. So first of all, before I dig into this beautiful project bag was made by Morgan, and I just, this fabric is lovely. I love it. It's perfect for a project bag. So she put this coordinating stripe. I love this cute tassel on the zipper, and then it's the same on the back. And then inside she put more of that same green stripe. And then Courtney, God love her, she is so creative and has such a great eye for color. And so she bought all of us the same chart and the same fabric. And then she asked us to pick a color palette. And then she hand-picked colors that matched our color palette that we could stitch this chart with. So we're all going to stitch the same chart, but it'll look different because we'll all use different colors, which my brain doesn't work that way. So bravo, Courtney. This is Stitching with Friends by Little Stitch Girl. It says the only thing better than stitching is stitching with friends, and that is so true. So got us this chart, and then this is a 40 count fabric, and I'm gonna have to ask her when I see her again what it is. But it's this beautiful, I don't know, yeah, you can kind of see the modeling on it. And then I said, you know, I love green, I love pinks and tans that go in there with the greens. And so she picked 5 classic Colorworks colors. And I don't know, I think she knocked it out of the park. Let me get this organized here. So here are those colors on the fabric. So really excited about this. And so we're going to start these at StitchCon together, and just grateful, like I said, for their friendship and for their continued support, not just at StitchCon, but throughout the year. And let's see. Oh, and speaking of friends, another thing, you know, I get together with a lot of people here in Delaware, and sometimes when you get together, people will bring extras, things that they aren't going to stitch or they've already stitched. And this was one of them. This was a class piece, my friend told me, and it's from Ink Circles, Seeds of Friendship. It's called The Book. When am I going to stitch this? I have no idea, but you make a little book. And I said, I have to have this. So there it is, all stitched. So you put some fill accents on there. But I thought this was so clever. Tracy Horner is just so clever. And so I picked this up, and when I get ready to stitch it, I'll let you know. But I just, you know, I thought, let me tuck that away, and one day I'll make that. So really fun to have a chart that wasn't going to get used, and use it myself one day. All right. So that is it for cross stitch stuff. If that's all you're here for, I'm going to let you go. I'll let you know that my next episode will be the end of the month, and that will be celebrating 1 year of Flosstube. So, wow. I'll have a giveaway, and yeah, just talking about what I've been up to, and maybe taking a look back at what I was doing, what promises I made, and which ones I kept and which ones I didn't. But thank you for joining me today. I hope that, you know, you enjoyed seeing my progress or lack thereof on some of these projects, and I will see you at the end of the month. If you still want to stick around for some book talk, let's just jump right into that. So, books. I've read a lot this month, a lot of audiobooks. When I was flying with my daughter, I was reading on the airplane. I didn't get out stitching this time. I just thought, let me read, because she's at the age where she has a lot of questions and she's constantly interrupting, which is fine. And so I wanted to make sure I could be available for her too. So let's see. Most of these I'm going to have to put a picture on the screen, but the first one is called Working Stiff. This was a memoir written by a forensic medical examiner. She worked in New York City for a couple years, most notably during 9/11. And just learning about her job as a forensic medical examiner, what that means, how she had to kind of cobble together situational deaths, figure out what was the actual cause of death, not just what it looked like. Very interesting story, and yeah, I love this. It was a memoir, and I would highly recommend. I gave it 5 stars. It is a little gruesome, I guess you could say. I have, for a long time, wanted to be a doctor, and I had done a lot of work to shadow and things, so it was nothing for me to hear some of these things, but there's no lead up. She starts her book with a very gruesome story, so if that's not your jam, stay away, but I really enjoyed her writing style and the story she had to tell, and hearing her experiences doing that specific job at that very poignant time in our history was also eye-opening, so highly recommend. The next one is called The Siren of Sussex. This is a historical romance that I saw talked about on Instagram, and so I listened to it as an audiobook and really enjoyed it. It's told from a dual point of view, and the audiobook was narrated by 2 individuals, which was also exciting. This tells the story of a woman who is coming into her season in England, and she's also a horsewoman, and so she has the stallion that her father bequeathed to her when he passed, and she's trying to manage her stallion and also find herself a husband to care for herself and her family, her sisters specifically. It's an exploration of class, an exploration of life as a person of color. She falls in love with an Indian man, and so the history there around India and Britain was very interesting. I gave this one a 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I'm trying to think. I think it was fairly closed door. It was slow to start, but the romance was sweet as they fell in love with each other, and just the way that it explored that culture and that society during that time in the 1800s was very interesting. So I would recommend that one, and the audiobook was really great. The next one is written by a Nebraska author. This is 3 Things About Emmy Crawford. This author is special to me. She grew up just about 7 miles down the road from where I did. We shared a high school teacher. This woman taught her in high school and then came to my school and taught me in high school, so I feel like I have a connection. That was an English teacher specifically. But this book was written about a high school girl. It's a YA book written about a high school girl who lives in DC. Her mom is a very prominent senator who is considering a run for president. And so this daughter feels a lot of pressure. She is a debate person herself. She's participating in debate, but she also is living with Crohn's disease. The author of this book lives with Crohn's disease, so it was a kind of a lived experience told through the eyes of a teenager. Very interesting to read about. I loved it as a YA. I think it was very well written. And as the oldest daughter with some of the similar tendencies as Emmy Crawford in this book, I could relate and enjoy it. So this one, I gave her a 4-star. The next one is a book that I found on my TBR, my to be read list. I have so many books on this list. It's ridiculous. Basically, anytime I see a book that looks interesting or someone talks about it, I put it on this list. And then as if I'm at a bookstore or at the library and I'm not sure what I want to pick up, I'll pull something off of this. And so sometimes what I've found is I have books on here that I don't remember how I heard about them. I don't have any idea what it's about, but what happened this time was I was looking for an audiobook for the car, and I saw this title. I looked it up. It was available from the library to check out, and that's what I did. So this is After Annie, a fictional story about the young girl is the main character. She's again in high school. She has 3 brothers, if I'm remembering correctly. The details are starting to get a little hazy, but her mom dies unexpectedly. And so she is trying to navigate life now after Annie, her mom. And she has an aunt who comes into the picture. She has a woman who's like an aunt, her mom's best friend. And it's interesting to watch just the family as they navigate grief and loss and try to figure out, what comes next after the matriarch of this family has passed. Kind of a heavy book that wasn't purposeful. I will say that it wasn't totally my cup of tea. The writing wasn't my favorite. The subject matter was interesting, and I really appreciated the exploration specifically of the father's grief, actually. But yeah, this one I gave it a 3.5 stars. I finished it. I mean, I'll be quick to not finish a book, but I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it. It would have to be the right person in the right time. So that was After Annie. And the last one was one that just came out when I put it in my journal. I realized it published on April 1st of this year, so I was one of the first to read it from the library. It was called I See You've Called In Dead, which is quite the title. I heard about this on a podcast, read about it on a blog, thought, oh, this looks really interesting. And I was kind of disappointed. It's a fictional story about a gentleman who is an obituary writer for a newspaper. And one night, he maybe has a little bit too much to drink and has an accident. And basically, he had written kind of a satirical obituary for himself as he was, kind of evaluating his own life and worth of life. And he accidentally published it. And so he wakes up the next morning. Everyone thinks he's dead. His job says, well, we don't want you to work for us anymore. And it just kind of all the crazy that comes after this. And as he tries to figure out, what is life? And he was just coming off of a divorce or a split. He and his previous partner had lost a baby. There's lots of things going on. There was one redeeming character in this book, and it was a little boy who lived down the street from him. And just the way that the author wrote this child, who it might have been on the spectrum or had some sort of a learning disability, but was very endearing. And so the interaction between that little boy and the main character was especially sweet. But again, here I am talking about grief and loss. I don't know what it is. I chose to read this book. After Annie was kind of just whatever was first at the library, but this one I chose. I gave it also 3.5 stars. I didn't understand the hype behind it. I didn't recognize the author's name, but it might be something for you. It had kind of a weird, quirky sense of humor thrown in there, which I typically enjoy, but it just missed the mark for me this time. But wanted to give you that review. What am I reading now? So you're catching me kind of right as I finished up a bunch of things. I finished 2 books yesterday, and so now I'm trying to restart. But one that is on my holds list that I need to get going on is The Briar Club. I've got this as an ebook from our library, and this is especially timely. It talks about some young women living in DC in the 50s during the Red Scare, trying to figure out who's a spy and who's not. Kate Quinn is a wonderful author, and I'm excited to read this one. I've heard really good things. So that's next as far as an ebook. I did just go to the library yesterday to return some things, and I picked up a few. This is a collection of poems called Forest of Noise. This is by Mossab Abu Toha. I had seen this referenced on Instagram, I think. Somebody had shared a shot of one of the poems inside, and it just spoke to me. And so I don't read a lot of poetry, but this was available at my library, so I checked it out. The author is Palestinian, and he is from Gaza. And so I think especially during this time with all that's going on there, I thought it was, important to read and remember the humanity that is amidst all of the tragedy that is happening in Gaza right now. So Forest of Noise, a collection of poems. And then I come from a family, well, my mother especially, she would pick up a cookbook and read it like it was a storybook. She loved to read cookbooks. She was still is constantly picking up books at thrift stores or garage sales, such and such church's 100th anniversary, they do a cookbook, or this elementary school does a cookbook. Mom loves to read those. And so when I saw this recommended through a podcast, I thought, well, that looks interesting. It's homage. It's recipes and stories from an Amish soul food kitchen. It is written by Chris Scott, and talks about his grandmother. And I'm not sure what the connection is to the Amish, this idea of an Amish soul food kitchen. But I thought this looked very interesting. And when you open it inside, I mean, there's recipes, but there's also, I'm trying to find an example. There's beautiful pictures, but like here, he tells a little story about in Nana's garden, right? So it's not just recipes, it's also, some storytelling. There's a chapter called Hard Times Foods, but you can see, I mean, the photography is just beautiful. So excited to look through this, maybe find a new recipe or two, and give it a try. So I love checking out a cookbook from the library, finding maybe 1 or 2 things. I know it's so easy to find something online as far as a recipe goes, but there's something about holding a book in your hands that really speaks to me. So those are the books. You've heard all my stitching. We're now 40 some minutes in, and I think I'm done. So I will be back the end of May. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you being here. I hope that I was able to encourage you with some stitching or maybe a story or two. And I'd love, drop it in the comments. Tell me what you think about that stitching in the round. Should I continue it? Should I call it a day? If you've been reading anything good, let me know. Erin, I'll get in touch with you about that chart that I need to send you. And I will be back at the end of the month. So until next time, take care.